Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Amazing Podcast. We hope you're having a great day, and we hope you're ready to talk about some cool stuff to listen to some cool stuff about cloud native, Kubernetes, and all of those things. I'm Twain Taylor, editor at amazic.com, and we bring you some of the insights and the thoughts from the innovators in this space every week. And if you like what you hear over here on this podcast, go and check out what other stuff we do, because this is not the only thing we do. We've got articles that we publish on our journal at amazic.com. That's amazic.com. And we've also got event coverage. So you'll find us covering speakers at KubeCon and these other big events in the space. So go and check out the website. There's a lot happening. And for today's chat, I'm quite excited because I have with me Haseeb Budhani, who is the CEO and co-founder of Rafay Systems. Haseeb, welcome to the show. It's great to have you. How are you doing?
Twain, good to talk to you, my friend. Thank you for having me. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing good, doing good. Yeah, so Haseeb, as we get started, I first wanted to get to know a bit about you. If you can give us an intro and tell us what you've been up to up until you founded Rafay, and even just what made you to start Rafay. That'll be a great starting point for us.
Yeah, happy to do it. So I have been somehow involved in startups since my undergraduate days. So in my senior year in college, I was, doing internships very frequently. I went to a college that was very expensive, so I had to work really hard to pay for the school that I wasn't attending because I was working hard. So I did an internship at Cisco. I did an internship at Ericsson, and these are big companies, right? So it wasn't actually that much fun, frankly. It was because big companies, lots of stuff, lots of process, and they gave me this tiny little thing, right? Go sit in the corner. So in my last semester in college, or second last semester in college, like this is like late 90s, right? So this is 1999, end of 1999. Like on a whiteboard, on a, like a notice board somewhere, there was a sign that says coders needed $25 an hour. That's a lot of money. So then there was a number there. So I called the number. It's like, oh, what kind of code? He said, we're writing an e-commerce application. I didn't know what e-commerce was. This is 1999. Okay, you're really gonna pay $25? It's like, yeah. And the only question he asked me in the interview was, can you write Java code? And actually, I couldn't. I said, of course I can. And I got hired. These guys were a startup, 7 people building shopping carts back in the day, right? So, I mean, I didn't know what e-commerce was. I didn't know what shopping carts were. But man, it was amazing, right? These guys work like crazy people. Like at 10 p.m., they'd order pizza again, and then they would write code again. So I just I just loved it. And then when I graduated, I looked for small companies. And then I looked for another small company, another small company, another small company. And like in hindsight, I learned more in these early companies than I learned like in college or anywhere else, right? And that became an impetus for me to just keep working at startups, really. And here I am, right? So this startup, the startups that I've happened to work on in the past, they've all happened because, well, we love it, right? It's just exciting to solve crazy problems. And what's really interesting is, at least for me, every idea has come about because in the previous thing we did, we may have done it well, but there was this one thing that wasn't great. And that one little thing kind of became a thorn in the side, and that became an idea that you germinate and you kind of think about it and you think about it and you obsess over it, and then that becomes a startup. So the previous startup I worked on, that was acquired by a larger company, and nice, thankfully, God was very kind, very nice exit. But in that company, we had an orchestration problem. And we thought about it a lot. And we actually, at that time, I remember asking a bunch of people around us, right? Friends of ours at LinkedIn and Netflix and all these big companies, how do you solve this problem? And everybody said, yeah, well, we take a bunch of open source, we hired 50, 100, 200 people, and we solve this problem. Okay, so you're Netflix, you can hire 200 people, 500 people. What about an enterprise? So then I started talking to a bunch of friends in enterprise IT, and most of them had failed projects for modernization. Why? Well, the infrastructure was very hard. Like it all seemed very easy up front till it wasn't. And that became a reason why we were working in this company. Fundamentally, what we do here, as you know, is we help enterprise customers automate the consumption of compute infrastructure, be it on-prem, be it in the cloud, so that the people that matter, the developers, the data scientists, they can come and just say, I need compute, give it to me, and you can just get it. But they can't willy-nilly get it. It's an enterprise. There have to be controls in place, governance in place, and we provide that as well. So marrying this idea of self-service consumption of compute with strong controls in the back, which are effectively invisible to the developer. When you have the combination of the two, and you can consume this as a service now, you can go so much faster, right? You can make money faster as a company, right? And that's the nirvana we are delivering here at Rafay.
All right, all right. Wow, interesting backstory there. Sounds like you're really a startup guy at heart, and yeah, you don't hide behind a big brand, it looks like, and that's really cool. I love that. I can totally relate. Um, I want to ask, I just looked at Rafay's website and seen, the term that stands out in how you position Rafay is PaaS. And that term has kind of had a bad rap in recent years, I'd say. I mean, when you think of PaaS, normally, like you think of the older days, Heroku comes to mind, and Salesforce was trying something to build a PaaS. So, those things, they kind of considered as no, they didn't really take off as much as people expected, and so people think of like IaaS is the way that people are building on these big public cloud vendors. But I see that you position yourself consciously as being a PaaS platform. And I want to dig into that and get your views on PaaS. How do you define it? How do you understand PaaS? And as opposed to what some people may think of it. And is it different at all? And in what way is it different from, let's say, other similar solutions that call themselves, let's say, managed Kubernetes platform or something on those lines? Could you comment a bit on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, I am a big fan of Heroku. I think that sometimes technologies are independently great, but timing is everything. So were Heroku to exist now, it would look like Rafay, actually. Because they understood the problem. They got one thing, the one thing they could have rethought perhaps, but fundamentally they understood the problem, right? So the two things that matter, one thing they understood and one thing perhaps they are in the process of understanding. So a PaaS means I want to deliver a complete compute experience as a service to my developer data science. So what does that mean? Well, it doesn't mean Kubernetes. If I give a cluster to a developer, okay, what do I do next? I have to learn it, right? Then I have to understand how pipelines work. Then I have to understand how security works. Then, okay, man, half my time is gone understanding infrastructure. This is not my job. My job is to write code. So really, what a developer needs is, yeah, there should be a cluster. Don't bother me with it. Give me a piece of the cluster, namespace, right? Make sure that I have access to that namespace, nothing else, somehow. Make sure that there's a pipeline so that I can deploy application code to it. Tie that pipeline to my Git repo because I probably have some environment where I'm checking my code, right? Give me access to the pipeline system so I can push these things as and when I need to. And, oh, my application, when I'm testing it, make sure there's an ingress controller and an IP so I can test my application. And oh, maybe, you know what, just give me a sample application so I can get going. This is what an experience looks like. If you're a managed Kubernetes company, do you do this? No, you're not a PaaS. A PaaS or a platform as a service, right? So the idea is a platform solves a real problem. It does not provide a technology. Or if you're a data scientist, right? A data scientist, when they're given a Kubernetes cluster, what do I do with it? A data scientist actually needs a place where their models can be parked. They need a notebook so that they can play with the model. Once in the notebook, they built a model, they need a way to containerize that model. Okay, now I've containerized it, so I can have to be able to check it into a registry. Then once it's in the registry, then the registry there should be a pull from a cluster to deploy my model as a container into a cluster. Then I need to have storage set up so that my pod can talk to storage. Who's going to do all this work? If you don't do all this work, this experience is not worth it. That is my definition of a platform that is delivered as a service. So this is what, in my opinion, Heroku got right. So in Heroku, they spin up their database for you, right? They do all these things, right? They got it right. Here's the gap, in my mind, in many solutions in the market today. It's the customer. I think they get the customer wrong. So my customer is not a developer. That sounds crazy, right? But my customer is
Yeah.
not, you know who my customer is? My customer is IT. Or now we call IT like platform engineering or infrastructure engineering, these kind of cloud engineering, right? But fundamentally, we're all part of IT, right? I sell to IT so that they can sell to their developer customer. So what is my job? My job is to make IT proficient in delivering a platform experience to their internal customers. So I must sell a truly multi-tenant system where IT can now construct different experiences for different teams. You could have 100 different BUs in an enterprise. Each BU could have 5 different experience expectations, which means IT now has to govern 500 different experiences across maybe multiple clouds. So how many Herokus are you running now? You're running 500 Herokus now, and that's okay. Rafay powers that. Do we do Kubernetes? Absolutely. We do it better than anybody else in the market. I'll challenge any company in the market for Kubernetes. But to me, just doing Kubernetes management, Twain, not good enough, man. What next? Right? Is it policy? Okay. And then what? How do you get a developer successful? How do you get a data scientist successful? If those are not explained, you can call it a PaaS. It is not a PaaS.
Interesting. Yeah. And your response kind of touched on what I was going to ask you next as well, which is about how do you enable those, as you said, 500 different Heroku experiences within the same organization, because that would be a nightmare to actually do usually. And that's one of actually the concerns that comes up when talking about PaaS, because people think of PaaS as being an opinionated platform where you buy into the vendor's perspective of how cloud should be done. And so in a sense, you accept that there are going to be some compromises where you're probably looking at doing 80% of what you need to do, and you may not be able to do 10-20% of some of those cherry on the top kind of things. You may not be able to customize it to every single use case within your organization, but if you're covering most of it, it should work. What do you say about that when it comes to this issue of how customizable can a PaaS platform be, and how can you actually enable 500 different experiences for developers?
So let me show you an example. Is it okay if I show you something on the screen? Would that be okay?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we have this as a video
Yeah.
podcast. So yeah, we'd love to see.
So let me show you an experience. Here's an experience for a company that wants to consume expensive GPUs from NVIDIA, for example. Okay. So this company has decided that, hey man, all I care about is I want to deliver a model where a data scientist or a developer can come in, say, give me compute, and then on top of that, they can deploy that. Give me compute. Which one? Small, medium, large, extra large. Okay. And once they do this, they can say on this compute that I've set up, hey man, I just need a notebook. Or, hey man, let me deploy an application from NVIDIA's catalog. This is a completely custom experience we built, right? This is completely composable. This company wanted this use case. Now, behind the scenes, Rafay has this massive platform that enables all this. So we have capabilities to help them deliver environments. So this is the actual kind of code in the back, right? So we provide a lot, not only recipes. In the back, the customer can actually, yes, of course, I need to build clusters, right? We are a Kubernetes company. You can build clusters. You can set network policies so that no one person can see another person's environment. You can set gatekeeper policies so people can only deploy certain applications. You can do chargebacks because now you have multiple people using the cloud infrastructure. You can have pipelines deployed. We talked about pipelines before, so you can deploy a pipeline, on and on and on and on. But what does the developer care about in this company? I just want to deploy an app.
Deploying, yeah.
Right? Completely customizable. And that's the beauty of the right level of PaaS, right? So what we've done as Rafay is we have envisioned, hundreds of these examples, and we made them all open source. So we open source every possible experience on the platform. Our customers can take them, and maybe they're not 100%, maybe they're 99%, right? It's okay, man, no problem. Let's fork our repo and make a change and bring it back. So you can basically bring that back to Rafay and you own it now. I don't want to be in the business of forcing a customer into an experience. They should be able to construct their own experiences. And this insight, right, is what will propel this company from where we are to, God willing, a very, very large company. Because now any enterprise can come and basically tune experiences based on what their internal customers need. It has to be composable. If it's not composable, of course, it can't be from scratch, right? We give them 90%, whatever, 95% of work. And after that, they compose it based on their needs. If we can kind of keep threading that needle, we will.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that was a cool, quick walkthrough as well in your response. So yeah, I loved it. And yeah, you're talking about just NVIDIA itself, kind of is a nice segue to what I want to get into next, which is AI workloads. And you've been, I think, putting in a lot of thought into this and building for how do we enable the next phase of AI workloads. And you even had some recent announcements related to that. So obviously, it's big on your agenda. I want to ask, related to that, when it comes to AI, what are some of the AI specific challenges that organizations face, and when they, want to run these AI workloads, what are the challenges they face, and what are the unexpected hurdles that they notice?
So, particularly because you're talking about NVIDIA, obviously the most important company in the world right now, right? So I kind of think about two sort of worlds when it comes to GPUs, right? So one is people go to the cloud and they consume GPUs. And in the cloud, although everything is elastic, GPUs are not, right? You have to sort of, if you unless you're willing to pay crazy amounts of money, you have to lease them basically, right? 18 months or something. You have to have like a long-term contract with the cloud to say, I'm going to keep these for 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. Okay. So if you're going to have a set of GPUs for 12 months, how do you share them across your team? You can't get more, right? This is it, right? And it's expensive, very, very expensive. How do you share? And then similarly, let's say somebody decides, I want to do this in a private data center or a colo. So they get a bunch of machines shipped from NVIDIA, DJ Cloud servers shipped from NVIDIA, and they have a bunch of servers sitting in the colo. Okay, how do I convert this into a cloud overnight? These are the two problems we started with. And to address both of those use cases, essentially what we did was we extended our PaaS platform to actually understand what GPUs mean. So like in the GPU world, we have to think about matchmaking. Like in the CPU world, matchmaking is not a thing, right? You can always get more compute. There's always effectively compute available. But in the GPU world, you have to think about, okay, man, if somebody only has 512 H100s and they have 5,000 developers, well, what are you going to do? If you give everybody one, you run out of capacity. So you have to find a way to virtualize them. You have to find a way to do a time limit on them. You have to find a way to do kind of, you have to manage scarcity. And in the cloud, it's not just that. You have to actually build a cloud, right? How do you deliver a cloud in a box experience to a customer? And to that end, Wayne, what we basically did was, and if you'll allow me, I'll just put something. I should just keep my screen presentation going through this entire call.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So look, you know this about us already. Like we sort of envision ourselves sort of sitting in the middle, delivering the experiences to the left by making the things to the right happen. Right? That's our business, right? And what we've done is basically like this. So this is what our platform looks like, right? So it basically helps people manage compute. The computer is on the right-hand side of the screen with a number of capabilities, right? So yeah, you need to monitor this. You need to, do inventory management. You need to do user management, environment management. The environment management is the experience layer, right? How do I do resource orchestration? How do I build a cluster? How do I do multi-tenancy? How do I schedule these things, et cetera, right? So the stack to the left, a priori, only understood CPUs. Now it understands GPUs and it understands how to do inventory management for GPUs. And the nice thing about Rafay is because we support public cloud Kubernetes as well as on-prem Kubernetes, if you have a company, some enterprise company that just got a bunch of GPUs shipped by NVIDIA to their colo, we can have them up and running with a cloud-like experience overnight. Today, it takes 6 months, right? And they have to hire an integrator, some SI, right, to do that work for them. With Rafay, so long as you have racked them and you have power and you have internet connectivity, you can be up and running in hours. And your developers will have this experience, so behind the scenes, this could be Amazon, this could be on-prem. The developer doesn't even know. It's not their problem. They just want to consume compute and deploy applications. That's what we do here at Rafay, right? So essentially, yeah, look, we did this before, but for CPUs, now we do it for CPUs as well as for GPUs. That's what the big announcement. On top of that, sir, what we announced in addition to the extension of the PaaS is that let me go there. So the nice thing is all these things are nicely sitting on our website, so it's easy for me to, I don't even need slides. I can just show this
Yeah,
to you.
yeah, good job with all of these. Yeah, bringing all of these into very visual and easy to consume formats on the homepage.
So let me just make this bigger. So we are delivering essentially an ML platform, and we have customers, early customers using this already, right? So the idea is that how do you programmatically enable the IT organization to deliver MLOps systems to their internal developers or data scientists as a service? So this goes back to the PaaS conversation we had before, right? What is a PaaS? A PaaS is an end-to-end experience. So in the ML world, what is an end-to-end experience? All of this should just work for me. Don't make me think about it. Don't make me deploy anything. But what we are doing is we are empowering IT to own this now. And that is the best place to be, right? Like end of the day, in an enterprise, IT needs to own this stuff, right? They're the right owners of infrastructure. So we are empowering them to own it. And at the same time, we're empowering them to deliver this as an internal service to their data center. So they go to a portal and say, give me an ML workspace. And it just pops up on the cluster that, by the way, they built using Rafay, right? All these things come together very, very nicely in the past story.
Interesting. Could you comment a bit about, what about other things like, for example, networking or security? If there are kind of, things that, the IT team probably wants to enable that, let's say, they probably use Istio or Linkerd now to do something specific to networking. How could Rafay enable something like that? Does it support Istio can it support Istio itself, or any comments on that when you want to like do something as specific as that?
Yeah. So firstly, yes. So in our documentation site, if you go to the recipes page, you're going to see many, many icons on this page. Each of these icons is an integration that we have built.
All right.
For our customers. So Istio is an example. You said Istio and Linkerd, so both of them are here. What you pick, right? So I should not be in the business of forcing an opinion on my customer. If you ask me, I will tell you, man, use this versus that. But you have to decide, right? You're the customer. Our job is to provide you integrations. So for Istio, for example, you have a very elegant integration. Your IT guys don't need to understand Istio. It just work. We got it. Right? So we already thought about this, right? Now, IT has to solve for, yes, layer 7. So Istio will solve a layer 7 with Envoy. The bigger issue with shared clusters is how do I do layer 4 networking, right? So how do I make sure that like a customer in namespace A cannot connect to a customer in namespace B? They should be completely, islands, right? They cannot see each other. So we also provide layer 4 networking support in the product, actually. So which is the network policy capabilities in the product. Layer 4 capability, layer 7 capability, storage integrations, like Kubernetes policy integrations, chargeback capabilities, application deployment pipelines, and of course, Kubernetes management upgrades, all that stuff, right? All of this has to be true. And then on top of that, you have to have the experience, because the experience consumes all this infrastructure, right? All of this has to be true. So it's a massive project, actually, right? So many times when people think about this problem, what they say is, and I hear this a lot, Wayne, right? I'll talk to an early user of Kubernetes, right? They say, man, what's the big deal, right? There's already a Terraform provider. I can build my own cluster. I don't understand. What is the problem? And then we say to them, I'll talk to you in 6 months. Of course, then they've learned, they've tried a bunch of things, and they go, oh my God, this is a lot of work, right? This is a really, really big problem, right? It just so happens that, God has blessed us with an awesome team. They have built some incredible technologies to bring all these together in a single platform. So my customer doesn't have to worry about every moving part. They just consume everything as a service.
Wow, really cool. And what is the transition process like for someone who's, self-managed Kubernetes all this time, and then they decide, okay, let me move to Rafay. What's the migration like? What's the initial phase like? Where do they start? And what are some of the early results that they see?
Are you thinking on-prem or in the cloud?
I would say probably we can talk about cloud.
No problem. So so actually in our documentation, we have written a lot of content around, because you said cloud, right? So pick one. And it's going to walk you through exactly how to deploy things. And then on top of that, deploy very specializations as well on top of every one of these things. We have built migration utilities. So I'll make up an example. So let's say you run Rancher today and you built a bunch of Rancher clusters on-prem or in a cloud, and you now want to migrate to Amazon EKS or a Rafay Kubernetes cluster. We have built migration utilities where we can actually migrate your entire application to a Rafay Power cluster. Because we want to make it easy, right? We want to make it easy for people to consume new technologies. And once they use our platform, then all these other things are possible for them. Because today it's not possible for them, right? They're stuck. So we have to invest the time and effort in building these capabilities, which we have. But I think the nice thing is once our customers try a product and they understand, like I'll give you a real example from this morning, right? So I was talking to a customer about a price quote, and they were talking about cost, right? How am I going to do chargebacks and whatnot? So he said that, and it hadn't come up before. He said, one of the things I'm looking at is I need to provide a chargeback sort of information to my internal customer. And some of those customers use more compute than they really need. And I don't know how to solve that problem. I said, all right, man, no problem. We have open source a project called Resizer, which can in real time resize an application based on prior usage. It's part of the product also. And we keep, by the way, we keep open sourcing select projects from Rafay, right? So we have that. And did you know that in our product, we actually already provide lots and lots of chargeback information. And this is on a per team, we have it already. You already have it. It's available. And so, oh my God, I don't need to worry about that anymore. I'm going to just kill that POC and just focus on Rafay. And the reason why I'm telling you this is I want to solve a holistic IT problem. I don't want to be a Kubernetes management company. Yeah, Kubernetes management is a feature. And we started there, to be fair, right? Yeah, that was the first thing we solved for. But if I want to be a strategic partner to an IT organization in a global 2000 company, cost itself is not, I mean, it's a topical problem, obviously, right? Everybody's worried about cost, but cost isn't it, right? It's a much bigger story. How do you bring all these ideas together in a single platform so that I, as an IT leader, can deliver the perfect experience to my BUs? Because that's when, if they're happy, everybody wins.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds very customer centric, just your approach to building the product, your platform, and sounds very practical and very solution oriented, which is great, I think. So yeah, what are some of the results, the early results? What do your customers say? What do they notice first when they start using Rafay?
Look, for me, the thing that matters most is when I call a customer, right? I mean, uh, are they hearing sort of positive feedback from the developers and data scientists? Like, because usually we don't get to talk to the developer, right? They're one level removed from us, right? And that's the only metric that matters, right? Are they happy? So we obsess over that, right? We spend a lot of time talking to our customer, like, how do you measure that? Like do you like some companies, like sophisticated companies, measure how much time people spend on infrastructure versus apps. So they track how much time do you write code versus other stuff, right? Did that number go up, for example? Are you able to deploy them faster? Are your developers telling you, hey man, I can do this myself, for example, right? And we can measure that also. We can see when they do it multiple times. These are the things that we are tracking, right? And then the deals grow really fast, right? So when we have that level of happiness in an enterprise, right, they'll start at whatever 3, 4, 500K ARR. And then the deal grows by 50%, another 50%, 50%. Of course, we love the money, we take that too. But the real thing is, like, people are adopting it because it's solving a problem. See, in this industry, back in the day, we used to have this notion of lock-in, right? You buy a product like a VMware product, and then you're stuck, right? You cannot get out, right? It's not acceptable anymore. In fact, our customers do, when they do a POC, they make sure that they can get out. So they test for that actually. Right. And I understand, right? I mean, why do you want to be stuck with us? Right? You should only work with us if it's actually solving a problem. And if it's not, it's okay, man. It's all good. We'll go home. But they stay. In fact, they spend more money, which means they're happy. Right. And happiness is, to me, there's a direct causation. It's not correlation. Direct causation is experience. If you deliver the right experience, if you really obsess over, like, we make our customers write down the user story. Let's not talk about the product right now. You, the buyer, please write for me the user story. What do you want your developer to do? And if you cannot explain that to me, man, you're not ready. Let's go work on that first. What is the point of a POC if you don't even know what your customer wants? Let's do that first.
Wow, really interesting. As we wind down, Haseeb, I was wondering if you could tell us a bit about what you've got your mindset on as you look ahead the next year or so, in terms of what's on the horizon, what's happening in the space when it comes to, just manage Kubernetes, AI workloads, and all of these things. What are you most interested in? What are you noticing? Where do you see things evolving? What's the next phase from here?
So the thing that we are sort of getting dragged into, right? I mean, it's hitting us in the face, is that I can like off the record and give you so many examples of this. Our traditional IT customer, platform engineering customer, right? They were not thinking as much about AI/ML and all these things before GPUs. They were not. There was another team that was doing what they were doing on their own. But now, because of Gen AI/ML workloads are becoming taking center stage in every company. So the CIO is now saying, hey man, what's my strategy for this? So now platform engineering owns this, right? So our customers are coming to us and asking us, hey guys, how can your platform help me solve this problem? Right, so we've identified a roadmap of capabilities, and we talked about some of them today, right? So the ML platform we built, we have to do a lot of work over the next 6-9 months to make it better. We built a Gen AI playground. So it's an early implementation. It's going to get better over the next 6-9 months, 1 year. But the idea here is a lot of people are experimenting with Gen AI, and then eventually, once they find the models, they will take it back to their traditional MLOps pipelines. So you got to run it, right? So you'll do training, Gen AI stuff, tuning, Gen AI stuff, inferencing. It's just a model at that point, right? It's some tuned model that I need to run somewhere. Rafay is going to help in each of these steps because the infrastructure will be different, right? You may train with NVIDIA gear in Amazon. You may tune somewhere else with AMD, and you may do inferencing. Maybe you don't even use GPUs. I don't know, right? So now you can have multiple infrastructure types, different users. How are you going to manage all this stuff? This is what Rafay was built for. That heterogeneity of workloads, environments, people. That's where we shine. And that's what the world looks like today. Every enterprise looks like this now.
Mhm. Yeah, wow. That's a good concluding note, though. And I think that I would take away from this conversation that, hearing about how you approached, building in the cloud with Rafay, it seems like you started out with Kubernetes, but it seems like you've noticed that there's way more, or you're rather deeper. You went deeper than Kubernetes and you solved for a broader spectrum of challenges in the cloud. And your comments on AI as well shows that there's so much more than Kubernetes that's happening, and AI is as well quite its own space that needs solving. And it's really cool that you guys have started out with something and expanded beyond it and really focused on just solving various challenges that these organizations and vendors face. So yeah, that was a great conversation. Thanks so much just for joining us today, Haseeb. And yeah, I found quite unique and quite interesting and quite practical, actually, just your approach to how you enable your customers to build in the cloud. So kudos to you and all the best to Rafay.
Thank you, Twain. Really enjoyed the conversation, my friend. I appreciate you making time for me, and I look forward to speaking again soon.
Yeah, sure. Before you go, though, just one question I want to ask to kind of get to know you a bit. What would have been your alternate career path if not for your job in tech?
Oh my God, you're gonna love this answer. So my dad is a chartered accountant. Okay, so I was gonna be a chartered accountant. Literally, I was gonna be a chartered accountant. And I took a year off after high school, and in that time, I had nothing to do. So I started teaching physics in a school nearby, so that I knew the professor, and he said, "Hey, man, come hang out." Um, and I worked in the afternoon at like a stock exchange, like local Karachi stock exchange. And I got to play with computers at that time, right? I'd never really done that before. I was like, man, why do I want to be an accountant again? This is kind of fun. Had I not taken time off from after high school, right, I would be an accountant right
Oh, wow.
now.
Nice that it happened so early, though. It's rare that people get clarity of that. I mean, that early in their career. So yeah, it seems like you got it right then. This is what you want to do. But
Yeah, no, it was
interesting.
very clear to me that I like this work. This is a lot of fun.
Neat, neat. Yeah, cool. It was great meeting you, Haseeb. And yeah, we hope you'll join us again soon when you release something new and exciting to talk about.
Of course, I look forward to it, my friend. Have a good evening. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, you too. Thanks to all of our viewers and listeners for joining us, and we hope you'll tune in for the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.